for my fifth birthday. When I was 5 years old, was I 5 or 4? The Cinderella.
Oh, that was 5.
Sounds like you did.
No, because we did a play.
You were like 26 that time, weren't you?
I thought that was just last year.
I was 5. I'm 4 or 5. What happened? I was very little. I know, baby. It's okay.
Oh, poor Robbie.
Okay, before I started school, my mother threw me a Cinderella birthday party. And as you get to know my mother, you will know that she puts on what we call Joan Newby Productions. Joan Newby Productions. And so we had all of our friends play all of the roles of Cinderella. Okay, so obviously I was Cinderella. And then there was, Eric that played the prince, and his sister played the queen, and I can't remember who played the evil stepmother. We had everybody. My mother baked me a cake in the shape of a pumpkin, orange icing, green stem, everything. And so this birthday is that and more. 10 times better. And so I really want to thank you all for being here. I want to give some shout outs to people. Michelle Robin was here earlier, her partner Crystal, and they are the owners of Your Wellness Connection on 75th and Schweitzer. And Michelle does all my chiropractic, and her nutritionist, Shelley Murray, has gotten me on a program that has helped to create I'm just saying. I feel better physically, emotionally than I have really, literally in decades. And I'm very excited about this birthday. So I want to update you on a couple of things. In November, I traveled to South Africa. I went with an organization called the Light Center, which is a wonderful not-for-profit that supports wellness. And she does retreats, and it's in Baldwin, Kansas, and the person who runs that organization is Robin Goff. And so Robin, this is how this happened. I'm going to tell you about some fantastic things that have happened, okay? I've been wanting to go to South Africa for years because my name, Bukeka, is South African, right? And I love to tell the story. I tell all the time, and I know Mom gets tired of hearing it, but I don't think she does. But anyway, when I was born, my parents named me Gretchen Elizabeth. And my parents were very involved in the civil rights movement, so I told them that I wanted an African name because lots of African Americans were changing their names in the 60s and so to African names. And so I said I want an African name, and I chose Bukeka, which at the time I thought meant princess, right? Which is a very cool thing. I'm 6, right? And so I'm a princess, obviously. And so I felt that I should have a name that was appropriate for that. So they were gracious enough, my mother and father were gracious enough to allow me to go to an attorney and have it legally added on to my birth certificate, right? So then all these years later, I traveled to Cape Town, South Africa. And I'm in a meeting with the people from the Light Center, the people who are at this center that is called the Novalis Ubuntu Institute, which is also a wellness center. And so the sister organizations of the Light Center and Novalis work together. And so we were in a meeting with a minister named Reverend Temba Kazulu. And so we're sitting around a table and we're introducing ourselves, and he comes to me and I said, well, my name is Bukeka, and I said, I know I'm not pronouncing it right, because now I'm in the home, where in the motherland, right? And I was like, so tell me how to pronounce it. And they're like, Bukeka, it's Bukeka. I'm like, okay. So this minister says, now tell me, how did you get this name? And I said, well, so I told him the same story I told all of you, right? And this is what he said to me. And they're beaming. It's the minister and his deacons. And they're just smiling, ear to ear. And so he says, let me tell you. He says, for you to have chosen that particular name at that particular age could only mean that God was ordaining you in that moment. And so he says, do you know the meaning of your name? And I said, well, I understand it means, the princess, He said, well, before you leave this country, you're going to know exactly what your name means. And what I came to find out is that it is a description, a word that's used to describe the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
So I also kind of looked it up, and there's all other kinds of scriptures, like to be lovable. Okay, I am worthy of love. Blah, blah. I'm like, how did so to know that instinctively at 6 was just
Where
wonderful.
did you find the name at 6?
My dad found a book of African names. Your mother, yeah, okay. My parents found a book of African names, and I went through them all. And it was divided between north, south, east, and west. And I got to that name in South Africa, and I'm like, that's the one. That's the one. So I picked that name. So I want to tell you a couple of things about that trip, because what I have come to experience over the last several months, over the last year, is just a whole thing of transformation. Last year, on March 11th, I was flying home from Las Vegas, Nevada, to witness my sister giving birth to my nephew at home with the water and everything. And it's the funniest story. She probably doesn't think it's so funny. But he was due on February 25th, right? And so I got there about February 23rd, and February 25th, she's like, he ain't coming. This baby is not moving. He's not doing nothing. He is not coming on time. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure he'll be here. So I decided that since I was in Vegas, I might as well book myself for a Sunday service, right? And so right. So here's the deal. So Sunday morning comes around, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. My water broke. She's saying my mother. I'm like, oh my God, right? So, but I've still got to sing for this Sunday service, right? So we're filling up the tub with water, right? And at the time, because I have a bajillion hairstyles, right? So at the time I was wearing this long ponytail. I'm walking around the place with my ponytail, trying to put buckets of water in this tub. And she was in labor for quite a while. I went to church. I'm calling. I'm like, how's it going? The people at Unity in Las Vegas were like, and we're praying for Makeda Newton, Makeda Hawk, and blah, blah, blah. And so, great, there's a CD player. And so I get on the way back. I'm calling. I'm like, how's everything going? I'm talking to her husband Peter. How's everything going? She's doing okay. She's doing great. But get here as soon as you can. Blah blah. And so I say, and I'm sorry that the baby waited until I got back from the church service so that I could see him being born. And so I really feel like it kicked off an entire year of transformational experiences in my life. The way the trip to South Africa came about, I had been praying about going to South Africa for years and years. And I had an idea. I said, I know how I'll get to South Africa. I'll start doing all of these house parties and house concerts, and I will raise the money to go, okay? And Angela and her husband were one of the people that gave me a house concert. We had a big house concert here, raising money. And it was good, towards the end of each session, about maybe, $150, $200, $250 was raised. It was a trip to South Africa. In my mind was about $5,000. But I was determined to go. So in June of last year, I was singing at the Unity Conference, and Robin Light, who's the executive director of the Light Center, was there. And I think it had been a while since she'd heard me sing. She hadn't really heard the maturity that had taken place in my voice. And so I said, Robin, I'm working to get to South Africa, girlfriend. We're gonna go, and all is gonna be well. So I go into the conference. I was singing at the Unity People's Conference, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna sing my butt off, right? And Robin Goff came in, and after it was over, she was like, "You are going to South Africa." That was on a Tuesday, and by Wednesday I had my itinerary. By Wednesday, I have a mic. Oh, yeah. By Wednesday I had my itinerary. Yeah. And so a woman had donated some frequent flyer miles to me, and flew over there, and the trip was transformational in itself. As I mentioned, the trip started out with the minister telling me about my name, and day after day, wonderful experiences were happening. And I'm going to tell you about a couple of